Hear me now, men of England. Hear me, you young bucks. I, Cornelius Boggleswick, Earl of Fleur and Viceroy of Plantagenet, have discovered the secret of manhood. Many years ago, my father, upon his deathbed, bequeathed to me an ancient map. It depicted a long-lost country, an island at the edge of the Western Sea. He also gave me a manuscript in some forgotten tongue. But, with my dear friend Professor Herring-Scholl, I have decoded this most remarkable text. It described how there was once a mighty civilization in those lands, who built great wonders and discovered the principles of nature, long before Isaac Newton and co. were on the scene. So, packing our bags, we left the Distinguished Gentlemen's Club and set out to find the remains of this island. Having hired a ship paddled by a one-legged cook and his chums, the Professor and I set sail for our destination. Day after day passed, and, as we delved into the Atlantic, all we could see was wave after wave. The crew became restless, muttering about promises of buried treasure. But the Professor, as hairy and strong as an ape, kept them in line. An albatross joined our cruise, circling above and landing on the deck for pats and food. It was a welcome distraction from the monotony of the sea. Eventually, when all of us were beginning to despair, we espied land. The island was surrounded by steep cliffs and was about a mile long. As we drew closer and laid anchor in a cove, we could see grand buildings, classical in design. They were of the Doric order, their pillars short and heavy with no base. As we landed ashore, we beheld a perfectly proportioned city above us. Climbing a stair carved into the rock, we were brought up before mighty gates of a resplendent settlement. Its streets were symmetrical, its buildings well formed. Nothing could be added to improve them, nothing could be detracted without losing something of their beauty. Along the boulevards we roamed, admiring the magnificent statues around us. Carved in marble, they were of a technical brilliance only matched by Michelangelo. They depicted men engaged in sporting contests, sprinting and hurdling, javelin throwing and wrestling. Each was the apex of masculine form, mind and body united in perfect action. At last, we arrived at a temple in the centre of the perfectly organised metropolis. There was a giant statue, some 15 feet tall, of a naked, bearded man breaking the neck of a serpent upon his knee. His face was stern and commanding. Here was virility, the conquering power of order over chaos. Professor Scholl and I thought he must be Zeus, king of the gods on Mount Olympus, but our one-legged cook, a surprisingly well-read man, thought it must be Thor fighting the world serpent, Jormungandr. Perceiving that this sculpture represented the highest ideal of masculine energy, I vowed to become Zeus incarnate. Following our return to England, I embarked on a most arduous programme. I grew my beard long, eating monk's berries to aid me in this effort. Every day, I captured a snake, usually an adder, and broke its neck upon my knee. And yet, for all that, I came no closer to being Zeus incarnate. In fact, I felt I was getting weaker and more pot-bellied, though that may have also been due to my new job as a chocolate taster for the royal court of the Emperor of Plantagenet, a most noble and distinguished position in European society. As my condition deteriorated, I became reclusive. Ashamed of my portly state, I saw no one, not even Professor Herring-Shaw. I forced my postman to leave the Emperor's chocolate in my residence while blindfolded, and my barber had to cut my hair with his eyes closed. The latter did little for my appearance, which further aggravated my insularity. I became so paranoid that I would not even read novels, lest the characters in them started to judge my failure as a man. But my salvation was close at hand, for one day I was startled when I heard a knock at the door. Peering through my curtains, I saw that it was the one-legged cook from my voyage to that most marvellous ancient city. Buoyed by my memories of adventure, I heaved myself to the porch and greeted him warmly. He had heard of my condition and had brought me a healing balm. In his hands was the most fantastic book, The Legends of King Teddy the First. He bade me sit down and spent the day reading to me all the remarkable deeds that Teddy had done. He told how Teddy had escaped the clutches of a giant eagle by floating away on a dandelion spore, had won a jewel while wielding a chicken, and had married Queen Eleanor, who had been transformed into a corncrake by a wicked witch of the East. So now I have found a new role model to follow, a man I can imitate far better than Zeus. I have been practicing my fencing while wielding a chicken. I have taken for a wife the most beautiful corncrake, and soon I will float from the cliffs of Dover while holding a dandelion spore to keep me afloat. I will become Teddy incarnate.